my seat. Okay. Thank you for showing up tonight. Mainly, this is an informational meeting, so that mostly about cleanup, so that we can get started. I know all of you are anxious to get moving. I know it's frustrating to not be able to do that. It's been frustrating for us too, and we'd like to get you back on the road to your life as quickly as we can. But we have to be safe about it. There's a lot of hazards and dangers that I didn't even know about until just a couple of days ago. I was up on Jesus Maria yesterday, walking around, and just a light little breeze kicked up that ash, and you know, I was breathing it. And you take a look around, and there was about 100 animal bones laying there. So you know, I think it was a group of coyotes or something that got hunkered down into that into Manzanita. You don't know what's in the ash. It's very important to realize that, okay? So if you're going to be sifting around in it, make sure you have masks and gloves. So that was just a little, just in case. Because I know people are anxious to get out there digging through stuff and using shovels and things like that. My friend was digging through his place. He had a mask on. You can see a black spot right here. He was there a half an hour, and you can see a black spot right here. So when you don't have a mask on, it's in your lungs, and we don't know what the effects of that are, short-term or long-term. We don't want nobody to get sick. We kind of all made it through this thing, which is truly amazing. So we want you to be as safe as possible. I think everybody would agree with that. And so we're going to start this afternoon, sorry. I'm a little mixed up on my days. I can imagine. With Leslie Davis, right? Our county assessor.
Thank you, Cliff. It feels like night to me. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm Leslie Davis. I'm your county assessor. I wanted to take a minute or two to talk to you about what we are going to be doing, because I know that, well, I see someone who was in my office this afternoon and another one who was in earlier this week, but I know that many of you are going to be getting a tax bill in the next week or two. And that tax bill is going to reflect the values that were enrolled on the assessment roll on July 1st. And of course, for some of you, unfortunately, those buildings aren't on the property anymore. So what's going to happen over the course of the next several weeks is my staff is going to be out in the field on those properties, identifying what was damaged, what we had assessed, and then we're going to be processing, you've got to love government speak, roll corrections. So you're going to get notices that we have done that work. You're not going to get a notice that we're doing that work. And I want you to know that my staff's going to be out there, because as Jason and Jeff and some of the others start talking to you, they're going to be telling you that they are going to have teams out there. And I know that some of you are going to wonder why so many different groups have to be out on the property. The reason is simple. Everybody has a task to do, and they are the subject matter experts. So when Jason tells me that my staff can go out there without hazmat training, they will be out there trying to give you property tax relief. So what can you do to help us? What you can do, if you haven't already come to my office, we're open 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. We were there 12 hours Saturday and Sunday last weekend. We'll be there from 9 to 3 this Saturday as well. You can come to my office and you can complete a form that tells us you've experienced damage. So that alerts us. Now we're going to be out there trying to find those properties on our own. But it'll sure be a heck of a lot easier if you come in and talk to us. And when you do, we're going to tell you about certain other rights you might have. I'm not going to take a lot of time tonight to tell you about those, but we're going to tell you about being able to file perhaps to get an exemption from next year's CAL FIRE prevention fee. We're going to tell you about so those those are documents that we have that we will be providing for you if you can come into the office and talk to my staff. And right now, everybody on staff is there available for you. I will tell you that half of my staff was also affected by the fire. 2 of my staff members lost everything. Another came home to a burglarized home. They are feeling the very same things you are feeling. They understand it, and I want you to know that we're all in this together. We're all going to do our darndest to get through this together. And I hope that you could be patient with us and understand why you see so many folks coming out. If you have questions, I'll be here at the end. You can come up and ask. Thank you, Cliff, for you introducing the next person, or am I introducing Jason? All right, this is Jason's show on public health.
I'm Jason Baitzer with Calaveras County Environmental Health Director. I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of people wondering why I can't go to my property now and start cleaning up. September 17th, I'm going to go back. The health officer and I declared, as me, Director of Environmental Health, a local health emergency. Due to the number of structures at that time, I believe were in the 300 range, and the hazards associated with those properties. It's not just asbestos. When a house burns, there's heavy metals that get into the ash, and there's other household hazardous waste that we have to look at. This fire is dynamic. We've never faced anything like this before in Calaveras County. And it's looking at it from a management standpoint of protecting public health, our communities, and so the debris that is at our individual properties is addressed holistically and on the global scale, so we protect our children, our neighbors, as we move forward in the property cleanup. And so when we declare the health emergency, and the Board of Supervisors ratified that this past Tuesday in the board meeting, and also signed the MOU with Cal Recycle, and I have OES up here and Cal Recycle representatives that they'll speak to this program. That enabled us, one, with the health emergency, where the State Department of Toxic Substance Control will come in and remove all household hazardous waste and hazardous waste for free of charge, okay? That's a big load off our back and our backs as communities. Next, what it does is enables the California Disaster Assistance Act to come into play. So the county right now has been, and my staff with mutual aid from other counties have been performing site assessments of your properties. You might have seen them out there. They're delivering water, health packets. We're dropping off the masks that Cliff talked about and gloves. Our goal is not to impede the process. Our goal is to protect public health in our communities. And so we've performed to date over 300 property site assessments. We started last Friday. I got maps from CAL FIRE and our GIS and implemented. What this did by our rapid assessment and allowed to have Cal Recycle and DTSC to get their resources to our county faster. You have to remember, we're competing statewide with a lot of other disasters, and there's only so many resources. With that being said, and I know many of you have signed the right of entry forms, the process that we partnered with the MOU on Tuesday with Cal Recycle is one way that we can clean up our properties in a safe manner, where the state of California will come in with contractors, also employing and training local contractors that want to be part of the process, and we can talk about that afterwards, and I'll let Cal Recycle talk about that. But we look at it where they come in to your properties. If there's things that you want to keep, whether it's the old tractor, Jeep that you want to keep, it's not going to get taken away, okay? We're also not preventing you from going on your properties right now. There's that rumor that says environmental health is keeping you from on your property. That's not what we're saying. If you go on your property, we just want you to protect yourselves. You know, this ash, we have heard reports the other day, a lady was looking for some heirlooms as she was doing it. The ash caused her to have a bloody nose. She contacted our department. We gave her some proper personal protective equipment and gave her some information. So it's about really protecting ourselves and our community, our neighbors. So this process moving forward, and I'll let Eric and Dean speak to more of the specifics, but I'll give a general overview, is that with Cal Recycle contractors, they'll come in once we have right of entry forms, hazardous waste is removed, DTSC, Department of Toxics, I'm meeting with on Monday. They hope to deploy people on Wednesday to start removing the hazardous waste, okay? Once we have that, CalRecycle will come in, contractors, set up air monitoring. We don't want to impact our neighbors while we're removing the debris. Remove burn structures, debris, other items, hazardous items that may be on the property. Once all that is removed, they'll perform soil sampling and make sure that we get back to background levels so our children, pets, loved ones that are playing around in our communities are protected at safe levels. Okay? Once that is done, your property will receive a certificate that it met these standards. This is important because when you go to sell your property or get a loan, if you have met these minimum standards. The other process that we're developing is a self-certification process. This is a process that you can, we're developing a work plan where you're going to say you're going to meet these standards, take the debris to a permitted site. The load's going to be tarped, so when you're driving down the road, we don't have ash, heavy metals, asbestos impacting our communities, playgrounds, and our neighbors. And you can go through that process. Yes, you'll have to do soil sampling. We'll assist you on how to do that. But that will either be paid by your insurance or paid by yourself. The CalRecycle process, and I'll let Dean and Eric talk a little bit more about it and how that works. If you don't have insurance, it's fully funded. And if you do have insurance, how that's integrated as part of your insurance. But mind you, and Dean can talk, that they don't take money away that for rebuilding your home. It's the percentage that is there for debris removal. When I look at this, and mind you, this is the biggest incident that I've dealt with, and I'm looking at it from a public health standpoint. How are we going to manage all these properties? And I'm looking at it, and the CalRecycle program, I reached out to Director of Environmental Health with El Dorado County, Director of Environmental Health with Lake County, and talked to them about this process. I wanted to have confidence restored in me that going through the state process was going to be good for our community. The last thing that I want is to impede the process. I want you guys to get back into your homes as much as you do. And I know it can't happen fast enough, but believe me, I've been putting as much pressure on OES, Cal EPA to deploy resources so we can get people here, okay? And I'm gonna let these guys talk about the process and time frames, but we're looking at this process starting with DTSC this next week and CalRecycle bringing in teams the week after. And that's, a summary of where we're at with the program, and I'm going to let Eric speak with OES, or if Dean wants to speak first, whatever order you guys see as fit, and then we'll be here to answer questions and any particular specifics that you guys have. But I just want, it's easy as we have this process to think about my property and getting it cleaned up, but we also have to think about it, as I said, there's a lot of properties, and what's going to be the best way that we do this. And we were just up in Railroad Flat and it came up, what about unpermitted structures? What if you never had a building permit? It's fine, they'll go in. What if you have an operation at your house that may be illegal, okay? We don't care. We want to clean up, okay? It's about protecting public health, and that's what it's about. And so I'm not here to, judge or look at anything. We want to make sure that your properties are cleaned up. And I know it's hard to trust the government. Believe me, I have a hard time trusting it myself sometimes. But this process, and talking to Eric and talking to Dean, is something that I truly feel is the best thing for our community and restoring the community and getting us all back up on our feet. Okay? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Lamoureux. I'm the Regional Administrator for the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. I want to start by saying that the thoughts of my family have been with you. The thoughts and prayers of our entire Cal OES team have been with you. And we look forward to being a part of your community for days and weeks and months to come, as we're here every day helping our county partners, working with our federal partners to get you guys all the assistance we can, as quickly as we can. You know, the old adage, we're the government, we're here to help. It couldn't be more true with this program. You know, we're asking you to have faith in us that we're gonna get in there, clean up this mess that's in front of you that you don't know where to start. It's, you know, incredibly tragic for many of you. Probably never dealt with something like this before, and we want to be able to come in and help you deal with that, take that stress off, at the same time and helping you to get a very clean, as Jason said, environmentally clean site that's ready for you to rebuild and restart. It's important in your home site, it's important in your neighborhood, it's important for this whole community that we take the right approach to ensure that we protect the public health and safety of your community. And that's what's most important to us. So there's a lot to process with this. We're going to answer as many of your questions as we can tonight. If you're ready to let us take on the project, we'd ask you to work on getting that right of entry form signed, because we need to get the ball moving. We need to get going with this. And as Jason said, we've got crews that are going to be on the ground to start the process next week with those homeowners that have agreed to work with us. And we need to get everybody in that we can, so that we understand how many homes we've got to clean up. We can start prioritizing doing the logistics surrounding it all. This is going to be a big project, but we've done these projects before. California is fortunate to be one of only a couple states in the nation that actually have a program like this. And it has been extremely successful in communities just like this. Earlier this year, in the community of Bishop, we lost, I think, 60 or 80 homes. And we used this program, we got those folks cleaned up, and they're in the process of rebuilding. Almost a year ago to the date of the Butte fire, we dealt with a devastating fire in the city of Weed, the Bulls fire. We lost 143 homes in 15 minutes. And about 90% of those homeowners signed up for this program. And in that case, in about 60 days, we had all those sites cleaned up. And before Christmas last year, folks were rebuilding. We're probably not going to get done before Christmas, okay? But we're going to do everything we can to mobilize all the resources we can to get this done as quickly as possible. We've set a tentative target of January 1. That could change, and certainly we'll be communicating that out to folks if that deadline slips. The one challenge we've got this year is that, unlike when we've done this program a lot of other places in other fire seasons, we're dealing with one fire and one cleanup. You know, this year we had a number of fires up in Trinity County. We've had multiple fires in Lake County, the Butte fire. We've got these cleanup projects going on right now in a number of other communities. And so we're doing what we need to do to identify our limitations and draw in the resources we need. We're going to get this done for you. But it's going to take a little bit longer than it's probably taken, just because of the sheer magnitude of the number of homes we've got to clean up and we're working on elsewhere. But we will continue to stay in contact with you and keep you apprised throughout the process of how it's going and if we run into any issues. Communication is first and foremost. I'd like to, and we'll talk more, and I'll hand it off to Dean here in a moment to talk more about the program. But before that, there's a number of other things that are happening right now in the community, and I want to make sure you're all apprised of that. This meeting tonight was kind of to talk about the debris removal, but we were extremely fortunate last night. Many of you have probably heard the news already that the President granted the governor's request for federal assistance for all of you that were impacted by this devastating fire. So what that means, is we've got a number of resources in the room here tonight. You're going to see them throughout the community in the days and weeks to come from the federal government that have a number of programs to help you We're looking, we've got a whole task force that's looking at housing for folks that have lost their home, what we can do to address that for you while we're cleaning your site and getting you ready to rebuild. There's a multitude of other programs that are available from FEMA, from the U.S. Small Business Administration. So the first thing I want to share with everybody, and this number is going to be on the county's website. This number is going to be emblazoned in your eyeballs here before too long, because you're going to see it and you're going to hear it everywhere. But the FEMA registration number is something that I want everybody to take down if you can. It's 1-800-621-3362, and the 3362 is FEMA. Call that number. Get registered with the federal government for their programs.
Repeat the number.
1-800-621-3362. And there's representatives from FEMA here with us tonight that can help you with registration as well. But the important thing is you're going to look at those programs and you're going to think, well, I probably didn't qualify for this, or I don't qualify for this, and I'm not going to call. Please call. Let the representatives that are going to support you on that line help you understand and navigate those programs. Don't decertify yourself, or don't try to self-certify yourself. Register, give them your information, and they'll let you know what you're going to qualify for and what type of assistance.
What number would I call for tree removal? If I hold this line, and I've got trees, lots of trees all standing firm.
We'll try to address that for you before we're done. Other information from the U.S. Small Business Administration. They've got loans available for businesses up to $2 million. Homeowners can borrow up to $200,000. And they have another 800 number, and like I said, this information is going to be up on Calaveras County's website and other locations for you. But this is the number for the U.S. Small Business Administration to get plugged into their program. It's 1-800-659-2955. That's 800-659-2955. The local assistance center has obviously been set up. It's going to be reopening tomorrow. Representatives from FEMA and the U.S. Small Business Administration are going to be there. If you haven't been there, it's at the government center inside the old courthouse building. I encourage you to go down there. If you contact the 800 number, get yourself registered. You have got additional questions. That's what they're there for, to kind of help answer those questions and help you through that. Additionally, the U.S. Veterans Administration is only going to be in the LAC tomorrow from 9 to 3. They can help you with, if you're a veteran, with prescription refills, referrals to mental health, and also replacement of military documents that you may have lost on the fire. Finally, the California Department of Veterans Affairs will also be in the LAC starting tomorrow. They've got some CalVet programs that are available to some folks. Yes?
I tried calling the veterans. I served 2 tours in Vietnam. All I got was lip service, and the last thing he said to me, "Are you suicidal yet?"
So why don't you see me afterwards? We'll get you plugged in and we'll make sure that you're getting the questions answered that you need. The local assistance center is at the government center on Mountain Ranch Road. Yeah. Finally, on behalf of the governor's office, I want to assure you, as I said earlier, we're going to be here for the duration, as are our federal partners. And most of us are driving around town in marked vehicles. If you see us and you've got a question, don't hesitate to stop one of us. We want to help. We've got processes and places you can go, but if you see us and you've got a question, please don't hesitate to stop one of us, ask a question. If we don't have the answer, we'll work on getting it for you. Question in the back?
Yeah, I got a permit to restore power to my property today at the library. It was $166 just for the permission to restore power to my property. Now, I started doing some math. We look at the number of buildings destroyed, total homes and outbuildings. I figured it's pretty fair to say there's 700 services got to be restored. That's $116,000
We've got a couple supervisors here who I'm sure would like to address that issue, because I personally can't do anything about it. What's that?
Yeah, so I'm Chris Wright, District 2 Supervisor, and I just came down from the Railroad Flat meeting. That's why I was late. Yeah, I'm going to do everything. I'm only one individual supervisor, obviously, but I'm going to do everything in my power to actually waive all the building fees. I think that's the right thing to do.
I'm sure everybody's got a lot of other questions. I'm going to let Dean speak to the program. Dean is going to be the operations chief for the cleanup program. And he and his team are going to be the folks you're going to probably interact with more than anybody, so I'll let Dean speak to the program a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having us up. Really appreciate the opportunity. So, none of all y'all know me.
Yeah.
Peterson. I hope to get to know each and every one of you. It's going to be a long process. When we look at disasters, I'm sorry. Dean Peterson. I'm here representing Cal Recycle. Personally, I'm actually retired. I used to be an environmental health director like Jason down in the Bay Area. I lived through and worked through the San Bruno fire explosion a number of years ago, if you remember the PG&E tragedy where we lost 10 individuals. I've also worked on a number of other fires like this. And I will be the operations chief, so I'll be running the debris removal operations center. As you sign up, you'll be getting to know my team, my group, as we go through. When we see disasters, we see really two major responses. We see the initial response, and then we see the recovery response. And both are equal in that it takes outside agencies and a committed community. From the folks I've met here, we've got a committed community. That's obvious. You guys are stronger than most of the communities that have been involved. So I really look forward to working with this. So, how does the program work, you're wondering? How does the state come in, you sign a piece of paper, we come in, we clean your property. As Jason mentioned, we give you back a piece of property that you can build on that's clean. Jason also mentioned, and Eric, we have 4 major responses going on right now in California. Our resources are thin, our contractors are thin. That's why we need to also engage the local contractor community. So while there be one main contractor that'll be working with Cal Recycle, there's been a very clear message to that contractor. We've already hooked them up with several locals. We need local people out here. We're going to provide the needed training and all of that. In addition to that, we are looking for ways of looking at other volunteer-based organizations to help. Some of the options, because one of the biggest elephant in the room is the trees. That's something that we have battled with on all of these fires, what to do with the trees. You know, we can take the ones that are immediately hazard to our operation, but in order for me to try and convince the state of California to expend huge resources to take those trees, it's very difficult. We're hoping that we can use some of those volunteer organizations to help out with the tree aspects of it. I'm sure you do. We were driving around today and we see a lot of trees that need to go. Unfortunately, the state just does not have the ability to take trees in this program unless they're completely hazardous. So that's work in progress. Keep asking that question. Make us answer it. Can't answer it tonight though, I'm really sorry. What is a good phone number, sorry, on trees? I think you just kind of...
Yeah, I think just have to call the supervisor, that's what you guys are asking us to do.
One of the things that we're working with, I'll just step in here real quick, we're working with different volunteer organizations that have come outside of the community to assist not only us, but you guys. There's a couple people represented in this group. Our goal is to, if you call our department, we can get you in touch with that organization and that's willing to assist in tree removal. Okay, as far as naming names, I know Tony's here with Samaritan's Purse. There's also been working with Christian Aid Ministries, other organizations that help in disasters. So we're looking at utilizing all the resources, volunteer and contractors, to be part of the process and help people out.
So the other question we get, of course, is how much is it going to cost me, right? Because when has ever the state of California come in and it's never cost you anything? right? Come on, everyone. So the way the program is, as was mentioned, we're able to tap into emergency funding at the state of California. We also are able to tap into part of your insurance. But the one thing, if I do my job right, and I have never failed to do my job right in these instances, we will not take a penny from your insurance company that helps you rebuild your home. We are here for recovery. We need a community to come back and be as vital and more vital than it was before. So we don't want to take that away. So the vast majority of the money is coming from the Cal Recycle funds of emergency response. Yes, there is a little bit of insurance. It's that 10% kind of issue for the debris removal. It's not much, but it is something that so we will stay away from that. Sir?
One of the concerns that I have is that insurance sets a certain amount aside, designates it for cleanup as a percentage of the policy. And I've heard that that whole amount, whatever that is, will be taken for the cleanup. You're right, it doesn't come away from the building, but it comes away from that fund, which if your public adjuster negotiates with the insurance company in the right way, that money can be put back in your pocket. So what happens if there's $20,000 in that fund? They clean me off, but it really only costs them $5,000. In that case, it's going to cost me $15,000 for that service, and I don't consider that a service.
Okay, fair enough. What we do is we do not take a look at 500 homes, look at the price tag, divide that by 500. We document everything on every property. You will get a report. You will know exactly what we took off your property, how much time we spent out there, how much money was spent on your property. Your insurance company gets that. So we're very open with that information. So it's not going to be oh, we're just going to go and sweep all that money out. And quite frankly, I mean, again, that's a small amount of money for us. We're more focused on going to the emergency funding than actually going to the insurance company. We also realize, and I think that's something that has to have the conversation with the trees, because that could possibly be part of, and I'm not going to speak for insurance companies, but that could possibly be part of that 10% contingency. So we need to take a look at that. Can we reserve that to assist?
Can we get, when you guys come out to clean up, can we get an estimate of cleanup before the cleanup is done, so we'll have some idea, and we can look at our insurance company's allotment for that cleanup, and we can say, okay, they are only going to charge me $5,000, they're not going to take the full amount.
We send several site assessment teams before going in, because we need to know our resources going in, so we will have a general idea for that. I don't know how specific it can be, but that's a conversation we have before we go onto your property.
We'll know that before we okay the cleanup.
No, unfortunately, you can't. That doesn't work. You need to allow the right of entry. Now, at some point in the right of entry, and please, Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, you sign the right of entry, and at some point you say, I don't want to do this. I see no reason. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think we need to take a look at that a little closer. But unfortunately, we don't have that. We don't have the time. If I could be here for a full year doing this cleanup, sure, we could probably sit down on each individual property and give you estimates on every property. We don't have the time to do that. Winter is coming, and we need to get this going back into it.
You don't have the time to give us a number?
On 525 properties?
A number so we can make an informed decision? That seems like important time to the community. Agreed. I mean, an estimator can do that in maybe a day. We can take a day to do that.
I would recommend working with your insurance companies at that point. I mean, we just don't, I do not have the resources for that. My focus is the debris removal and the public health aspect of it. I understand your concern. Again, looking at the communities that have gone through this, that is, at the end of the day, has never been an issue with property owners.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of us just aren't informed of how much our policy pays out,
Okay.
the percentage of the policy that is, what the cleanup is going to cost, and what that difference is. And the fact that
I guarantee you that
we have money for other things,
yeah.
that's all possible.
I guarantee you, based on working on properties, doing these fires, that percentage of your contingency and insurance fund does not come close to what it costs to get onto the property to do it. And the vast majority, The vast, right, I mean, we're talking $500 here, we're talking, I mean, the vast majority of this money is coming from the emergency funds. And that's where the main focus for reimbursement back to.
Could we have some figures on that, so we can see what average costs are for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house?
Do we have that information from previous hires? Make sure I have your contact information, sir. And
Our rough estimate is it's going to cost about $40,000 a home site. Because of the type of cleanup we're doing, that's going to return a perfect site for you and maintain the environmental integrity of the community. If you don't have insurance, we're still going to do the work for you. But obviously there's a significant contribution being made by taxpayers just like yourselves to this program. And so that's where the insurance proceeds coming in to offset what at the end of the day is going to be a very small percentage of what it's going to cost for us to do the cleanup. Yes?
What about our cars, our septic systems?
Cars and septic systems.
so cars and septic systems. Cars first, if your car is insured, usually the insurance companies want to come in and evaluate, pay you out in that part. And a lot of the car insurance companies will actually take the car. If they don't, we take it. It gets recycled. Septic systems, the program is only addressing above ground structures. We will, if on your properties, and that's where it's helpful for you to be involved with our process, let us know to the best of your knowledge where your tank is, where your fields are. We keep our equipment off of that. Can't help it if during the response we have some damage. If in fact we find we have a septic system and you're telling me you're not going to rebuild for a while, I can get my contractor to pump it so it doesn't solidify on you, so you ruin a completely good tank. So those are the things, but unfortunately we can't fix those, we can't get into it. We'll cap wells if need be because we're concerned about aquifer contamination, but we're basically looking at above ground. We call it 6 inches above. Sir, and you.
What I don't understand is people that made their good money out all these years for insurance, and we have to pay if you come in and clean us up. Yet if we didn't pay any insurance, you guys come do it for nothing. That don't sound fair.
You're not paying us anything.
It comes off our insurance.
But that's money that isn't, again, we're not taking money for you to rebuild your home. We touch zero of that. Nothing for you to rebuild so you can have a home comes into us.
Why do you do it for people that don't have insurance, and yet you charge our insurance company, which our insurance companies could turn that money back to us to help us rebuild our home?
Percentage of what gets charged insurance companies is incredibly small. This is mainly coming from the emergency funding that all the California taxpayers pay into. Ma'am.
When I signed up at the county environmental agency, they said that the charge for the removal would be what our deductible on the insurance.
Yeah, okay, so the question was, when she first went to the county offices to sign up, the information that was given to her was that the charge would be the deductible on your insurance, and that is, that's not true. You have to understand, this information is coming quick and fast. County staff has done an incredible job for you, for the community. And sometimes there's misinformation about that. That is not true. Let's see, there's lots of hands coming up and I can't keep track of everyone. Thank you.
We need every little bit of money that we can get right now to rebuild. Are we allowed to maybe have a dumpster come and recycle all our scrap? Because I probably got about $4,000 worth of scrap.
Again, because we're looking at going on a property that has the ash, we have the metal all mixed in with the ash, it needs to be a process for removing that metal. And that's our contractors going in and handle all of that in a safe manner so we're not getting that out. Now it all gets recycled. I mean, on these instances, we're usually recycling. I know San Bruno was like 65% going to recycling. I don't know. I'm not finance. For the receipt?
For that, talking to supervisors, they were saying how Calaveras County has a lot of independent people. were saying that they would help us to get the hazmat suits and doing the mask and helping me just do it on our own. Did you get that out of the way and then have you guys come in?
You have an option to do it on your own. Unfortunately, if you choose that option, you do it all on your own. It can't be piecemeal. There's no guarantee for our sites if we're going in and someone has done work before for us to come in knowing and we're doing a comprehensive.
Now, what
I think Eric can.
What we've got is a standard of care that the county has adopted that we want to apply to all home sites. That way, one individual who chooses to do the cleanup on their own isn't necessarily contaminating a neighbor's site. So there's a same standard of care that needs to be applied. If you choose to do the project yourself, you'll have to conduct the cleanup the same way the contractors are going to conduct the cleanup, with lined trucks taking your waste out, covered trucks, undergoing the hazardous materials training. If you've got contractors coming in, they'll need to have gone through the training so that we apply the same standard to protect your property, your neighbor's property, and the entire community. Question behind you?
My question is on the amount of control that have when you come in on this building work. So for instance, I was blessed, I didn't lose my house and garage, but everything else is gone, our building is yours, everything. So if I have you come in to help clean up some metal buildings and do this and that, then do I also lose control of the cleanup of my rooms and everything else? Because I think that's what people are concerned about. We want to partner with you, but we want to make sure that when you come in to take away the cartons, whether a parent needs to go, but then you don't just,
Absolutely. Without a doubt. We don't want to take more than we need to. We don't want to take things you don't want us to take. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, property owner, that house is fine, they have some outstructures done. By getting into this program, do you lose control of what happens on your property? Do we just come in and start willy-nilly taking buildings here and taking buildings there? That's kind of the gist of the question, right?
well, yeah, but it's also the ash and the woods and everything.
Yeah, so wood ash, I mean, we're looking at the ash that potentially has the heavy metals in it. So we're talking from structures. We're not going to get into your woods, we're not going to take the tree ash. That is not a public health issue, it's part of nature. On the form, there's a lot of information, and you can give us as much detail of your property, of what you need, what you don't need. Then before we're going on, we're in contact with you, we're walking through, you're there as much as you want during the process. It's a partnership, again, it's a partnership, it's a community, us working through this out. It's not us doing it to you or for you. Thank you. I mean, it really is, it's got to be working back and forth. So.
Say you came to my house,
Can you hear me?
and I had a little two-bedroom house. So I'm just going to have a pile like this. And I just stand next to it, and had a five-bedroom house, and a garage ditch and everything. I mean, if there's going to be like, I know you know what I'm thinking. Are they going to be the same around this town?
So the question is, you have a property that has one building that was destroyed. Next door neighbor has 16 buildings destroyed. Is the smaller property paying the same amount as? No. Again, we're very detailed. At the end of the day, I know how long my crew was on the property, what was taken off the property, so we have volumes. Insurance companies demand that. I mean, they need to know that too, because insurance companies will not allow a program where we simply say, oh, it cost me $10 million, it's 500 homes, do the math, that's what it is. No, it's very individual to the particular property. You will get that report, full declaration. I'm sorry, one back here and then yes, sir.
My son and I never left, and I made it down a week later. Complete molten metal, everything. The way I understand it, when I went to the EPA, you have a cutoff date of October something to do it yourself. Otherwise, they're going to come in. That's what they told me. What is that date?
Jason, I believe we have.
Yeah. There was never a date. I'm not sure. The standard is people can self-certify. If you want to do it yourself, somebody asked, you can do it yourself. You don't need a training. You can do it yourself as a homeowner and just go through the process. We're developing a work plan that you can go through, submit, and we just want to make sure that if you're removing the metal, and stuff off the property, we're not creating a public health hazard. If you are going to do it yourself and sign up, that at the end that we have some soil sample that all the heavy metals and hazardous materials have been removed. And we're developing a process where you can take the ash and debris to. Jeff Krovitz is here and he's going to speak to that from Public Works Department, where those materials can go to, the recyclables, the green waste, and the rest of the waste. So there was never, I'm not sure where the date came from, but it's about having a consistent approach across the board, whether you go partnership and sign up with the Cal Recycle program, or you do it yourself. I'm trying, if you do it yourself, to have a consistent process for that and make it as easy as possible for the homeowner. But if a contractor comes in and performs that work, there's contractors in the room, they know that there's requirements by OSHA that they have to meet because it's a hazardous waste, hazardous material potential on site. Just like my staff going on site, they were doing the site assessments, they have to meet certain requirements. So it's about, having consistent approach. I know it's hard to digest the process. Maybe on the, and working with people on as far as if you do it yourself versus the state and removing recyclables, I'm not sure, on working with that down the road, and I can talk to Dean about that in that process, what you talked about, sir, because, and this is questions, this is a new process for us. But what Dean said is we're trying to limit the footprint of somebody, we say all metal recyclers come into this county and start removing metal without any process. What does that do to our communities? It defeats the purpose of trying to do this in a safe manner. So we have to have a coordinated approach on how we go about it. I know some organizations have been out helping individuals sift through the personal belongings. That they're doing on their own. We ask them not to remove debris until we begin this process. And if they were going to go through this process as a volunteer organization and assist you, they would be held to the same standards as the state process and also meet the cleanup objectives that we're going through. And it's just having that coordinated approach with it. So I hope that helped answer some questions.
No, thank you, Jason. And that's what the direction I got was I'm going to work with property owners on recyclables and we'll figure it out. There is at some point going to be a cutoff date. As far as I'm concerned, when I'm on these, the more people that sign up as I'm going, great. But at some point, my crews are going to be needed up in Lake County. So once I hit a point where I'm starting to mow down here, and I'm going to be sending crews to Lake, that's when you kind of start looking at that window of opportunity to sign into the program. So the sooner the better. Obviously, we would like to be on roads, in Butte. We want to be jumping all over the place. I'm going to have several crews all over the place. So we want to, the earlier as possible, but again, at this point, there's no date, but at some point there will be. You may come in and say, I want this, and we're going to have to say, my resources are gone. They're at Lake County. They're somewhere else. Sir.
Yeah, will you remove all of the stuff that was damaged in the fire?
For instance, okay. One question has been brought up for foundations.
No.
No?
Home, tractors, trucks.
If they're damaged beyond repair and usability?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm talking probably 200 tons of metal.
We've got a job ahead of us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. There is a question about foundations. Until fairly recently, foundations were very difficult. But we've looked at many fires, many structure fires, and when a fire goes through quick and hot like this, the foundation is worthless. There's no builder I would hire that I would let build on a foundation like that. We take foundations. Sir, sir.
This is going to take several months. Rains are coming. And how do you keep that material from migrating into like the Calaveras River, which I live right next to?
Yeah. Yeah, part of the program is we do a lot of dust control, watering. We try and hit sites as we can. That's going to be a huge battle. We have October 15th coming up, which is a huge date. That date always looms at me, and that's a date that Fish and Game always brings their guns out and says, get the hell out of the creek, right? Because that's the official start of the rainy season. So that is a huge, huge task, but we're on it. I'm sorry.
I'd like to say first off, it sounds like a good program. I wouldn't know how to start with my house without it. So Dean, I'm appreciative you're here. If we fail our soil test, is part of the program coming back to remediate the soil?
Absolutely. If our initial soil test shows that there's contamination above a background level, and we will get background in the area, we will scrape that area down, take that root of that soil until we get a clean sample. I am not leaving your property until I know that I can say, it's all yours, please. Do with it what you can. Do with what the county will allow you to do with it. I better say that. I get yelled at by the county all the time. Don't tell me what you want. And thank you, but quite frankly, I mean, this is one of those things where I don't want to be here, but I'm glad I am. So, fantastic. Thank you, sir.
You were talking about the trees earlier. You know, rumor has it PG&E didn't trim back the trees. They need to come down Susmer Road and clean out all the cottonwoods along the power lines. Does that?
Anybody? Yay, a hand. I can take it.
PG&E, Jeff Krovitz, Director of Public Works. PG&E is currently running along their easements and alignments and removing hazard trees, any trees that are dead and have the potential to fall into newly replaced power lines, phone lines are being removed and salvage logged. So that's what's going along there.
Well, cottonwood trees are garbage.
You and I both know that. I'm sure they're going to be removing as many as they can.
Sorry, back here.
Yeah, I guess I need clarification on 3 questions earlier. You were talking about there isn't a specific date when it's too late to get in the program, but your right of re-entry permit at the very top of it says that we have until Friday, November 6th to participate in the cleanup program. Did I misunderstand something?
Not necessarily. I think we were kind of looking at November 6th could be a point where we're probably going to be peaking out on my resources and knowing, you know, where we can start sending or keeping. But as far as I'm concerned, and again, Jason will yell at me later over beer probably for saying this, but at this point, I don't give a hoot about dates. I got committed to January 1st now, so we'll see how that works.
Real quick on that, the reason we put a date on there is because we don't want 18 months from now, can I sign a right of entry form, where's the program when everybody left? We had to set a date. It's not hard, fast, but we had to give them something to try to get people engaged in the program. Because if we don't, you know what happens 10 months down the road, our Cal Recycle team's left and somebody wants to sign up and said, well, how come there wasn't a date? So that's the reason that date's on there.
Yeah, but no, November 7th they come in and the county says go, I'm taking him to the woodshed and says, hey, hell, we're taking that property. Oh my goodness, over here, and then I've got a gentleman up here who's had his hand up for a while.
So if we've gone in and found, an item or two that we would like to keep that is some sort of memento, even a cast iron fry pan, is there a way we could clean that up to be able to use it, or is anything we find?
I'll clean it up for you, and you got it. What we want on the right of entry permit is detail. If there's an area in your house or property that you kept your valuables, you want us to treat special, we'll do what we can to find that. If you have an area in your property where you have pet burials, let us know. We mark that off, we don't touch that. So we do everything we can to try and get you where you need to be. I I didn't hear a question. Did anybody hear a question there? I heard no question. Wash it well, enjoy it, do what you need, you're fine. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for giving us this information. First of all, the second question, or the second thing I want to ask is I live in a private subdivision up in Mountain Ranch, and some of us may have the same deal, but we have a lake, and you're talking about soil testing. Who's going to be responsible for it in such as the M24 subdivision? That place got ravaged by the fire.
So I guess the question is as far as the contamination of the lake?
Correct.
We dealt with lake stuff before. I mean, I think that's where we look to our partners with Fish and Game, with water boards, and started to identify that resource to make sure that we're, our goal, my mission and directive is my operations will not cause further damage. Was there damage caused in the fire? Possibly. And that's where I think other agencies need to take a look at that. So, we've heard you, and we'll have to check it out. Yes, sir.
Yes, not to change the subject, but get back to PG&E. Like, I have...
I know them well. I was in San Bruno.
Okay, we got, they dropped about 15 or more trees on my property, 100-foot trees, they just dropped them. What about these?
Well, that's an issue. I know PG&E's dropped trees in my ash. And now I've got to decontaminate those damn trees. I apologize for the language. I get construction mouth. My wife hates me when I do these jobs. Yeah, that we're working close with them to make sure they're not dropping trees in our ash. Now, dropping trees in other ash, yeah.
So my question is, after we sign the rite of passage and you're coming onto the property to help us clean up, how much notification is the property owner going to get that you're coming, so that we can be there and make sure that you get everything?
As much as I possibly can. Generally, once we get our crews assigned, we have a pretty good idea. You'll know when we're in your neighborhood and area. Usually I can give you solid a day or two notice. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and my plans chief is saying, Peterson, you're going out here. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh Christ, I told that person it's 2 days. I'll be on the phone first thing in the morning waking you up saying, I'm coming today. So you can be there as much as you want or not as much. What I do, what we will ask is when my crews are on your property, I do not want you on your property. We got heavy equipment. We got lots of stuff going on. We got dust control going on. But you can be there. If they identify something, we get you out there in a safe manner to do it. So as much as I possibly can, we will be, and I've got tons of division supervisors coming in that have the same mentality. My crews have the same mentality. It's not a job to them. It truly is recovery to the crews that are going to be out there. So we will be treating your properties as well, and basically as their mine. It is like I like to say. So as much communication. And if I'm not communicating to you, you call this guy. He's then going to call that guy. And then he's going to call me. And I don't like when this guy's mad. We got one gentleman up here.
They both don't like when I'm mad. Right here.
Oh, can we get this gentleman real quick?
This first.
Okay, right on.
If I'm concerned about runoff into the creeks, will there be some straw, wattle, or something available for us homeowners to put that in place to keep the runoff from contaminating things?
Sorry, because I want to make sure we get the right answer.
So certainly around your site, as Dean's crews come in and clean it up, they're going to do work immediately around your site, right, Dean, for handling of water runoff. Throughout the whole...
When you say site, do you just mean structures that have burned?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, the impacted area, your home, and then they'll do site work around where your home was to make sure that we don't have any runoff and so forth. I think what you're speaking to, though, is the larger watershed that's been impacted by the fire.
Well, kind of like, I mean, let's say we get a rain coming in next week. I would like to be able to grab some wall and put it around my burnt structures to keep that from running off into the creek. You know, if there was a big rain coming.
Yeah. That's certainly something we can look at. Yeah.
This is why we have these meetings. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Two-part question or one statement. The lady asking about the frying pan, whether it be a frying pan or anything metal, just be careful of that. The heat will change the structure of the metal. It takes the temper out of it, so something won't be as strong as it used to be. So depending on what you decide to use, be careful. The second part of my question is, are you basically saying we can't start rebuilding until you've come in and cleaned up?
Well, how big is your property? You got 5 acres and you want to build on a property that it wasn't damaged, and I wouldn't know why. I don't know. I mean, it's an access thing. You know, we don't want construction going on at the same time we're doing stuff. I mean, there's that aspect of it. It's logistics. We talk. We figure it out. I mean, again, every fire we've been on, this is not cookie cutter. We learn from every one we go out on. And so we talk. If you've got plans, you've got a site that you're going on, we figure something out. I'm not here to impede you guys from the government. I want to make sure, though, it's been done in an incredibly safe way. Back here. Oh, sir, thank you.
My question is back on foundations. Are you going to clear the foundations down to the bare ground, for instance? I have a 26 by 40 shop building that's burned down, but it's on the 26 by 40 concrete pad. Would you clear it out to the bare earth and to the pad?
Bare earth. My wife calls me. Well, yeah, it's down to the ground. I mean, it's gone. We have a related question.
I'm a structural engineer, and I've looked at 12 foundations so far, and I think 2 of them can be saved. They're retaining wall foundations. They didn't get as hot when the fire blew through. So the county, the building department, I've had conversations. If you think your foundation is safe, call an engineer and look at it, and then we'll talk to these guys and see about what to do. What I saw is about 80% of the foundations are probably gone. So, but we'll take a look.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a really good point. I assume they're gone because I'm just not going to deal with that, but hey, if you get an engineer out there, competent, we look at it and agree. I'm an engineer myself. We have several engineers on site. Sir.
A question I think everybody is going to somebody's going to eventually ask is, how many crews are you going to have? And how are you going to prioritize where you start your cleanup?
Yep. The reason I'm not sleeping much at night. How many crews am I going to have? I don't know yet. Going to be meeting with the main contractor Monday. We're getting maps put together. The assessments that Jason's crew is putting together right now will help us put on a big map. I can start identifying where they are. I am just off the top of my head, back of the envelope, probably starting with 4 solid crews, ramping up to 8 at some point, and they'll be all over the place, and they'll be assigned districts. So, yeah, I'm right here. Sir.
Thank you, Cliff. Seems to me like we ring a lot about process, but what we need is the first step, which is to wattle every site and water it to keep the stuff local. Yep. Is that the first step, or do we have another process? Thank you.
Once we start getting mowed up, one of the first folks we send out are our water trucks. We start watering this stuff down to a point where it's not runoff, just enough for us. We start watering roads down. We make sure that dirt roads next to the ag crop does not get dusted. It's coming over to harvest season for some of your ag crops up here. We don't want any dust going on. So we do dust control. It is a priority for us. Amongst the first step, absolutely. So yeah, again, our water tenders will be out and as we start doing the assessment. Now, because we're looking at 149 square miles or something, are we going to be able to water every site immediately? No. Can't make that commitment. Not going to take it because I can't stand behind it. But we will do the damnedest we can to make sure that we don't have runoff. Again, that's why we're here. So,
considering that all the runoff is going in, like the man said before,
right,
into the rivers, into the reservoirs,
yep,
into East Bay.
Yep.
Now, just to speak That's one of the things too, this management of this process is, getting our arms wrapped around it. And I think this is something, East Bay Mud representative is here. We could work with them, we could work with our volunteer organizations and also the Cal Recycle process and make that a priority in getting out to these properties first so we can manage the stormwater even before the demolition occurs. And so we're solving that problem ahead of time, and then when they get out there, that's in place. Yep.
Yeah, that's actually, that'll be part of our prioritization process. Sir?
Yes, sir. Will we be able to put a small travel trailer on the property while the cleanup is underway? While the cleanup is underway? Well.
I missed the question. Was that talking about stormwater?
Can they put, while the cleanup is going on, can they put a small travel trailer on their property?
That's building.
So that's going to be something that will be looked at, because there's a lot of moving pieces. We've got debris removal going on at the same time. We're going to be working with all of you to understand what is your need. Some people may have a resolution right now to their interim housing, but that's going to be part of another process. If we're talking about putting a trailer on your property as your interim housing, it's going to be something that we're going to have to coordinate with the debris removal as well.
You have to wait until you come out and check. You can't go up there now and live. Like, some people have nowhere to stay. So I mean, if you have property, if you have 20 acres or 1,000 acres, can they pull a trailer up there and live in it?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's what they're asking.
Absolutely.
What's the setback? What's our setback?
Hey, can we stick with the process here, because otherwise we'll be listening to 20 questions at one time. You won't get
Asked, not answered, and it will be. We got to figure it out. So it's site specific, site by site.
Okay, we're still living in the refugee camp at the Jackson Rancheria, and we have to move out to our place. So what are we going to do? I mean, we have no place else to go. And we can't stay at the refugee camp forever.
We are working, we've got our presidential disaster declaration last night. The support and a lot of the funding to support those housing needs, we now have available to us. There have been numerous meetings already today to try to look at how can we help you and your neighbors get a resolution to that housing need. We're going to have answers for you, but the first thing is we need information. I know that's going to be part of at the local assistance center tomorrow, getting a good assessment of what your need is and how we, using a multitude of options that we've got at the state and federal level, how can we help address that immediate housing need?
So is that a yes or a no?
Yeah. To which question? Where's the answer?
Okay, just real quick, I'm with the county planning department, Gina Calvin, most of you probably already know me. We've had this conversation recently in our department regarding travel trailers, living in them. We do currently have a county ordinance, and let me finish before everyone starts to boo me. We currently have a county ordinance in place that doesn't allow you to reside in your travel trailer or any other recreational vehicle unless you have a building permit, and that's only good for 6 months. We could extend it for 6 months, but because of the nature of the disaster, we've had some conversations about going to the board and administration and county council about the possibility of coming up with some kind of alternative to that ordinance, specifically for, to address the living needs for folks in our community because of the disaster. So we're working on it. We haven't really presented it to anyone yet because it's just something that we talked about on Wednesday. But just so you know, it's crossed our minds, and we want to be able to put something in place to allow an extension, if you will, of a recreational vehicle living temporarily.
And can I just, and a clarification, if you go back to your property with the travel trailer, from my standpoint, as long as it's not going to impede the cleanup process, and as long as you're not impacting yourself or your neighbors, personally, I don't have an issue with it. I just don't want it parked between the garage and the house, and then you have tractors impeding on the cleanup process and potential exposure to yourself. So that's my answer to that, and Gina, I think, will be working with the building department to get more definitive answers on the other permit process and stuff.
Right here.
Just a quick question, is there going to be a process where local contractors and local guys that have heavy equipment and stuff can be part of these crews?
Yes, there's a sign up back here. As I mentioned before, we need you. We need your equipment. We got 4 operations, major operations going on in California right now, and maybe more.
There's plenty of local guys that.
So yeah, there's a sign-up sheet back there. Get your information in there. As much information, contact number.
We will
get you in contact with our main contact.
We do a local news site. So is there a number that they can call to get on that list or anything like that?
Environmental Health will be keeping that list. So
Okay.
the EH phone number, which I don't know, it's on speed dial.
Hey Dean,
Yeah.
to follow up on that, as contractors, how fast can you get us up and running with this hazmat class?
Very good.
My second part to that is that all mine workers or just a contractor? Because I've got guys busy now trying to restore water to wells. If I pull them off for a week, I just do not do that.
Yeah, because that is a requirement, is the site workers need a 40-hour, we'll call it HAZWOPER class onto it. Do we have any dates at this point now?
We're trying to start late next week, and will very likely fall to the following week. We're setting it up as a 4-day with 8 hours of that, very site-specific and project-specific. So that is what we're working on. We need facilities, we need to know the numbers we're looking at, and we need to have enough of those folks identified and ready to start. So we'll shoot for late next week, but I think it's realistic to be looking at that.
Yeah, so I think what you need to do for your aspect is, once you identify an individual, they're committed, and they go to the week, they're not being taken off the site. Finish up the work they're doing right now. Identify them, get them into our program, get them into the system so we can use and abuse them.
So tell them how long
The class, it's 40 hours, but we're doing it into 4 days.
We're trying to do it in 4 days.
Yeah, which we can do, not a problem. We've got great trainers on that. Very site-specific, nice, not some boring HAZWOPER class that most of us have gone through. So yeah, 4 days.
Right here.
The question is, do you have to be a contractor? We need you to have a contractor's license. Ma'am.
If a building permit is needed for these trailers to be placed, in that case, where would that funding come from for the homeowners if permits run around $11,000?
Temporary trailer permits are no charge, there's no fee.
Temporary trailer permits are no fee. Thank you.
Very good.
I can't believe it, no fee.
Right? No fee? Come on.
Yes, sir. Dean, earlier you were talking about watering down all these sites, and with the hazmat potentials, I don't want your trucks coming into my ponds nor into my wells. So how does that water get to this heavily watered area when we're working on this potential hazardous area? Are you trucking it in?
Yes. We haven't identified a source yet, but it's not coming out of your wells, it's not coming from your ponds. Trucking it in. More than likely, the landfill we're using is in Stockton, so more than likely we're going to be going, so a lot more traffic on the roads, guys, sorry. I'm sorry? Excellent, I like that. Call my contractor on my way home tonight. Sir?
What are y'all going to do about abandoned properties? Because I know where I live, there's a couple around here.
Oh boy. I don't know. Thank you. Just added 1 less hour of sleep for me tonight. Thank you. I appreciate that. So can someone make a note, abandoned properties? I do know we have a process for it. I'm just not completely familiar with it. Yes, ma'am.
Most of us have wells. Do we have to have the county come around and inspect them before we use them again?
No.
So one of the things our site hazard assessment team's been doing and really trying to get information so we can get these guys, for those of you that decide to sign up in the program, out running, is doing assessment of the properties. That also looked at your well and if there saw any visual damage to your septic. So with the well program, we're working with the well drillers to have a self-certification process, because we can't go out to every site that had well damage, where they certify the work that they did. We know it's done right. We just ask that afterwards that you guys disinfect the well properly. We have that information, and we encourage you to sample it to make sure it's free of bacteria or other pathogens so you don't get sick. So that's a process that we're working on.
What about vacant property? We have 2.5 acres that we were going to build on, but obviously not. And we haven't been out to see it yet, but it goes down to a creek side. And we're concerned about the pollution of the creek from just ash.
So the program here that we're discussing is talking about debris removal, hazardous waste removal, where there were structures and property. One of the things that Public Works is here, who oversees the county stormwater management program, so I'll let Jeff speak to that.
Jeff Kravitz, Public Works. I was going to speak to this when you guys ran out of questions. That may not happen. Big picture for the entire watershed, there's a number of programs that are currently in process with a number of agencies, and I'll speak more to this later. You're speaking specifically to your parcel and what you can do to protect the surface waters adjacent to that parcel. I have some handouts that I will be posting on the website that will give you education in terms of what kind of what we call BMPs or best management practices you can deploy to protect the surface waters, to keep the erosion and sediment out in a rainstorm. This, of course, is dependent upon the severity of the damage from the fire. Where the fire went through relatively quickly, and you still have organics in the soil, fairly easy to prevent runoff. Where the fire was very hot and the soil is like all mineral, there's no organics, it's a powdery ash, you add water to it and the water beads up. Non-wettable soil or a hydrophobic soil, that's a different story. There are additives that we can spray on to stabilize that soil through the season. And that soil takes a longer period of time to regenerate where it can begin supporting growth again. So keep looking at the Public Works website. I do have a few handouts that I brought with me that I just finished this afternoon. I'll speak more to this later.
And because we're having people leave, and we'll stay here and answer questions more on debris removal, but there's Jeff with Public Works, Mary with Health and Human Services, and so I'd like them to speak on potential services that they have, and then we'll have Q&A, because I don't want people that are leaving that may be missing out on more information.
I'll be real quick. Just want to let you know that we have a donation center that literally is right across the street. It's run by Resource Connection. It's from 10 to 3 on Thursday through Saturday. We've been asking people just to primarily donate brand new things. We're also getting a warehouse that's going to be in Toyon Park. It will be open very shortly, and that will be primarily for furniture and those kinds of things. We also have a Facebook that we've created. It's already in one day got 3,000 hits. It's titled Calaveras Health and Human Services. There's information about tomorrow's Calaveras Local Assistance Center, and that is just not FEMA. That is a whole host of services and giveaways, shall we say, food, you name it, for tomorrow. I also want to let you know Veteran Services, while they're there tomorrow, my Veteran Services officer will be back on Monday. She was an evacuee, and we will be there on an ongoing basis, you know, through the regular work week. So it's not as if veterans will just be served tomorrow. We're going to be serving like we always do on every day of the week, except for the weekends. So just to let you know that, and you can get that off of our website or our new Facebook. page as well. And then lastly, Red Cross asked me to let folks know that they are going to be giving away because they didn't have enough space here, up at 891 Mountain Ranch Road. They brought in 5.
We're up at the Catholic parking lot up there.
Oh, you switched to the Catholic parking lot straight up the street? Okay.
We got 2 trucks up.
Okay, coolers, cleanup kits, blanket shovels, rake sifters, and heater meals. So, and then just to let you know, on our Facebook page as well as our regular web page, we're going to keep changing as we get more things, because we have people we've asked to wait with all sorts of donations, and we have truckloads of stuff that people have. And again, like I said, it's all brand new from all over the place, because that's all I told them. If it's not new, don't bring it. So please just look to see what the latest things are. Sir?
People like the wife and I, that were totally wiped out. We don't have Facebook. We don't have a computer. We don't have anything.
Okay. And let me tell you, we have outstations. That's also just to let you know. And they are in Mountain Ranch, Railroad Flats, and West Point. And they hopefully are in those booklets that are right over there. If not, I will give you my card personally, and anyone else who wants it, or Kathy Hould, who's over there, and we will let you know the times and the dates that those are open. They're usually a couple of days a week, usually like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Last thing to let you know is we are going to people that even can't get to the outstations. So just, you know, because we're aware that for some folks, they don't have money right now. So we're going with them if they need, like if they need gas cards, or if they need, you know, help with just even showers, or we've helped set up some of the washer dryers in some key locations. That's all what we have, so that's why I said, just give us a call, okay? I don't want
Besides
to
Sandy,
all your other questions.
Sandy, you come live with me, okay? If you can stand me.
Okay.
Else have questions?
Cliff?
Sorry.
Yeah, I just have one question. I was wondering if I could put in, where my well is, put in a hand pump so I can continue giving the animals water instead of hauling it in.
Yeah, as long as if you put in a hand pump, and it's just, all we ask is that it's secure, so that, you know, no surface water, you know, no other debris can get down into your well, into your aquifer and contaminate your groundwater. That's fine, and then what will happen is once you get power and get back up, then we'll work with the licensed well contractor and get that, the well restored to it where it should be. Okay?
Okay, if I might take a few minutes to talk about what Public Works has been doing, it'll answer, I think, some of the questions for you. First, I want to talk about solid waste. That's trash, that's garbage. You'll notice that Public Works with Cal Waste has deployed food waste bins throughout the burn area for those people who have lost electricity, lost food. We ask that you please empty your refrigerators of spoiled food, put it in the bins. We're servicing them twice a day. As the demand goes down, we will pull those back. I know the demand is going down. If you feel like you have a refrigerator that isn't burned, that you can't use because the food that's in it was so bad, please empty it of the bad food, leave it next to the waste bin, and we will haul it and recycle it. Next, we're currently fully operational. All transfer stations are open, and the landfill is open down at Rock Creek. Everything that we took before the fire, we are continuing to take. At the stations that accept green waste, we will accept burned trees, burned brush, if you're wanting to haul it off the property. We treat it and move it into other places.
Where do you take them? Bird trees?
The bird trees, you could take them to the Rock Creek landfill, or you can take them to, well, you don't want to run them to Avery right now.
Why do you have the chips guys come in? Chip them and compost them?
Well, they actually, that's what does happen. That's what does happen. I'm looking to try to be able to deploy a chipper up to the burn area so we could be getting large piles, we could chip it, and then leave the chips. Because that would be the best thing to have mulch for you to use as part of your erosion control. Bird trees can go down to the Rock Creek landfill if you choose. Okay? That's down in Milton. That's where the landfill is, the county landfill. If that's too far for you, you can call. And we think that some of these social services groups can help pick them up. Big picture on the trees, we have been in discussion with the cogeneration plant down in Sonora. They will also be accepting trees that they will put into their waste energy plant. Continuing on to what will we not take? What will we not take at county facilities, transfer stations, or landfill? We will not take the burned vehicles, and we will not take the debris from the fire, the burned buildings, because my staff is not trained to handle that material. And we are hoping that you will participate in the Cal Recycle program so it can be treated by professionals in a safe manner and disposed of at a landfill that can handle that material. I want to speak a little bit to this process for those of you who are going through the debris removal, going through a permit process. Just a couple of general things to keep in mind. Assuming you go through the Cal Recycle program or a self-certification program and get your property cleaned up and you're ready to go for a permit and rebuild, that will be through the building department and also public works department. It will be the fairly normal process. You've got to be aware that new homes are going to be constructed to current code. Current code has changed a little bit since most of your homes were built. There are requirements for fire sprinklers. There are requirements for seismic and wind loading. So those are types of things, and I know the engineering back will back me on this, that will be part of your permit. We'll also be asking you to be getting an encroachment permit that allows you to work on and off the right-of-way where your driveway comes in. That's part of the process. The grading permit, you'll need a grading permit through Public Works as part of the construction of the home. And of course, there's going to be mitigation for stormwater for the construction. I've been working with the Regional Water Quality Control Board so that we can get a foreshortened, simplified process that will make it easier for you to protect the environment, protect from runoff, but a simplified process. So I want to talk real briefly about this watershed restoration. This is what I lose sleep at a lot lately. We have federal lands, we have state responsibility lands, we have private lands, and we have county lands that are all impacted by this fire. I wanted to assure you that BLM, U.S. Forest Service are currently doing their assessments and they're working on mitigation for stabilization of that watershed. CAL FIRE is working with Cal OES. They are doing assessments right now. They will be publishing burn severity maps, and they will go into a prioritized mitigation. Sorry about that. The first priority is for them to stabilize potential debris flows that would impact life, property, or essential facilities. That's the first portion of it. The second portion, which is the overall watershed, where we're trying to stabilize soils, that would be on public lands, private lands, will come a little bit after that. We hope to coordinate that through the NRCS, which is Soil Conservation Service. I've been talking with them a lot. Additionally, what I wanted to mention is that Caltrans is working hard to deploy to stabilize State Route 26 that's been affected by this burn. They want to get it, they want hazard trees removed. Okay, I'll get to you 1 second, but they want to remove hazard trees that are adjacent to the state highway so they don't fall during the winter. They also want to put erosion control. For those property owners that are adjacent to State Route 26, please see Corey Casey, Caltrans guy standing in front of the fireplace. They would like to work with you so that they can do a little bit of stabilization work on your parcels, maybe help with some of the hazard trees, and get this going. If you have neighbors that are also burned, that are directly adjacent to the State Route 26, please see Corey, and he'll give you a card that you can pass back to your neighbors. So we'd like to get that moving as quickly as possible. The longer the erosion control is in place, the more sturdy it is to resist the effects of the rain. So Cliff, you had a question in the back.
I had a question. My question is in regards to the cleanup. We've been approached by a number of church groups that have offered to come in and clean up for free. Now, how does this affect the self-certification? Are they qualified to do that? If I have them do it, am I hanging myself?
They're a volunteer group that, there's volunteer groups that we've been coordinating with. If they're a volunteer group, they're going to have to submit a work plan just like a contractor would, okay, and follow the same standards, cleanup. As they're not, I'm not the contractor state license board, so I don't, as far as certifications go, we'd have to look into that, but they're going to be held to the same standards. And one thing you have to make sure, and I've talked to some of these groups, they said they'll remove the debris, they're going to have to make sure it's removed so as they drive down the road and that it's not becoming airborne and creating a public health threat. The other thing is they're going to have to do soil sampling, perform soil sampling to make sure you have a clean site. Most of them I asked said they're not going to complete that. Now, if you go that route, it would take you out of the state program, and then that cost would either have to be covered by yourself or the insurance company. So I just expressed that we've been working with them, and they know what. I had a meeting with them on Friday. I had a meeting with a bunch of volunteer groups on Monday. So we'll continue to work with them and engage them and be part of the process. Things came up today as far as stormwater. I think that's a great spot where we can engage volunteer groups to get into sites ahead of time and maybe deploy best management practices for stormwater. Also, hazard tree removal outside of the burn debris area that we're going to be doing cleanup. There's a lot of hazard trees. Another great spot for the volunteer groups to engage themselves. Personally, I mean, you're an individual, have to make that choice. If I was going to go through the and I'm not trying to be biased because I'm here, I would go through with the state program, okay? I know it's going to be done right. I know I'm not going to impact my neighbor. I know my property is going to be cleaned up to a safe level where my 3-year-old boy can play on it and I don't have to worry about it.
I have 2 questions, if you would. One is, I have property, but I lost no structures. It's just burning through. Do I need to get in a certification program?
No.
Okay, my other question is, if I have a well, and the only thing that happened to my well is it lost electricity, do I need to go through your program for well certification?
No.
Thank you.
I got a quick question for Jeff, and that is just to repeat the refrigerators. My adjuster just came out yesterday and looked at my refrigerator. So we just learned that there was a disposal with Mount Branch. So we can take our refrigerator to that place as well?
The question was, for me to repeat, what to do with the refrigerator that was not burned in the fire, but was damaged because of the rotten food inside. And yes, where I have deployed the waste bins for food waste, you can bring and leave your refrigerator there. And for you, there is one right there in Mountain Ranch. There's actually 2, one in Centers and one at the community center.
In regards to the well, would the only reason you need to have it sterilized is if the cap came off the well? I mean, if it all did was burn the wiring and the cap stayed permanent, nothing came off, wouldn't that water still be fine?
Depending on your conduit and what happened there, there's still, that serves a preferential pathway for contaminants to potentially get in there. So I always err on the side of caution to disinfect and because of that potential, okay? I look at public health being proactive and not reactive, so I would disinfect it even if you just lost the electrical conduit, got burnt, that poses as a pathway for potential contaminants, okay?
On your right of entry, do you have to have
one of them filled out for each piece of property?
If there were structures on that property, yes, one filled out for each property. Just so we can differentiate, you know, because they were made specific for individual properties. So the address, APN goes on each right of entry form. You can qualify for multiple properties. You just have to fill one out for each property.
What if we had two houses on the same property?
Doesn't matter. No paper for that property. No matter how many houses, outbuildings are on that property, it's for that legal assessor parcel number. We also make sure that you are the owner of that property. If you're not, we have an agent form that you would complete on behalf of that property owner and that signed. But we need to have that legal property owner connection to the program. Because it's also because we know there's a lot of tenants out there, but we can't have tenants acting on behalf of property owners.
So Jason, as the newest department head, I'm going to give you this question to take up the chain.
Okay.
So I can see that you have to get a permit for grading or something, but when people are rebuilding their homes, are they going to have to pay all the school fees, all those things that cost you thousands of dollars before you build a home? I mean, this is nobody's fault. We're all victims of a war that was, you know, so I don't know. Hopefully your agencies can think about that because, you know, this is
it's something that we're discussing, and I will continue to bring that up the chain and bring that forward. So, okay.
If you're rebuilding with the same square footage, your fees have already been paid with the initial structure. If you're expanding, the expansion may be subject.
Okay, how about
a modular instead? It's still based on the square footage that you had that was burned. So if the square footage is less, you're paying.